Hi team, welcome back to the next episode of Identity Human. So today, Ray and myself, we're still, if you're watching the video, filmed from our other setting of the office. And we spoke about essentially alignment, but actually what does that mean? How do you do it? So we know going forward, this is going to be your second episode in on the 12 Days of Christmas specifically, that series. So what are some of the other things we have to consider for ourselves in order to make sure that we are maintaining our direction over long term? And that's where today's episode really tries to set the scene. So obviously we're going to talk about it between myself and Ray as a couple. So as a married couple or partnership, what do we do to set in place to make sure that we're aligned as we go? And if you listen to this and you don't have a plus one or a spouse or anyone, it's going to be just as relevant if you can pick out the principle of it and apply it to yourself and what you need to put in for yourself in order to maintain the direction that you want to go. Right. On that note, I hope you really enjoy this episode. Different
opening.
Ray was whispering to me, just so you guys know, this is authentic, right? This is how we don't produce this kind of stuff. But you see, there's already a beatbox intro.
No, so I wasn't meaning that. I'm more meaning
okay, wait, sorry. Welcome back to the Identity Human podcast around Christmas time. This is your 12 days of Christmas, and you shouldn't be anywhere else but right here listening to Don and
Ray. I love it.
Hooray. Hooray. So welcome back. This is going to be our next episode. I'm not going to say episode number 2, 3, 4, 5, because we don't know where we're going to fit this one in. But Ray, what are we talking about today?
Now, we are going to talk about the power of couple meetings. It sounds boring, but as a couple, or whether you're married or not married.
Or actually, it's a good point. If you don't have a couple, the power of your own meeting.
Yeah, you can.
So if you're listening to this and you don't have someone, but you're enjoying what we're doing, just listen to these.
There's some structures that you can put in place that you should be having this meeting with yourself. But as soon as you have a partner in crime in life,
you'll be well practiced.
Should be making sure that you're on the same page.
Yeah.
And I think you can sometimes take for granted that you will end up on the same page. But what we're going to talk about in this episode is some structures you can put in place to make sure that happens no matter how busy your life gets, to put in those little markers, those little nuggets of time where you actually sit down and do a check-in and make sure you're on the same page. So we're going to talk to you about our experience of doing this, the massive benefits we've had from it, and give you our kind of best practice tips.
Yeah. So I mean, I suppose we started these when we were trying to make sure we were connecting, but didn't have anything time blocked in.
And the weeks always just felt crazy.
Yeah.
Like we were kind of, weeks were like a tornado of chaos. And every day we would be like, okay, what's the plan? And if the morning was too busy, we wouldn't get to plan out what the day was. And it was always firefighting.
Yeah. So Ray put in monthly date nights, monthly dinner dates.
Monthly life dinners.
Monthly life dinners, right? So we then were able to carve out time, and I think we missed one or two at the beginning trying to get into the rhythm of it.
Yeah.
But we did do it, and it wasn't always easy because that's where, I mean, our biggest story is that's what I've learned.
We have such different communication styles.
Yeah, big time. And it was okay before that because it was either, can you do this? Yes, do that. Let's carry on going. And we never really talked about, what was the bigger picture.
And I mean, if you are new to our podcast and you haven't heard us speak before, Don and I are 36 now, and we've been together since we were 17. So we've been together through various stages of life. So we obviously do have relatively good communication. But as we got busier and busier with more kids, we'd kind of just figured it out as we went along.
I think we always have good communication, especially when we just accepted what I want. I know what you want out of life. You know what I want out of life, kind of.
And we know we'll just respect.
But within your business, I would let you do your business thing. You would let me do my business thing. And then, especially with rugby, rugby was easy, wasn't it? Like, I'll just keep playing rugby, and you can build a business on the side. But it was never about like how do we align those, because it was always just given. When you built up your business, I retired from rugby. Your business would be making money. And I hadn't really thought above and beyond that.
We had that as a broad conversation, but we never had any structures in place that allowed us to really ensure that we were driving towards the same goal.
Yeah.
And as rugby, where Don played professional rugby for 10 years, it's a little bit like
12.
Being in a system, 12 years. It's like being in the system of school where you're going to move up through all the years of school, and there's kind of like a very clear path ahead of you. Okay, it's not as clear as that because you never
Well,
know what's
sure.
going to happen year to year, but you very much you just following what is happening in rugby year to year. So it wasn't you didn't know what was happening in the next 2 or 3 years, but each year was just working through the seasons of like preseason training, etc. And we were just growing a young family, so we just worked around that. But when you came to retire from rugby, it was like, okay, we both have these missions that we want to drive forward with our businesses and our personal life. And
Well, you had a mission.
how do we end up on the same page and make sure we're driving, that we're not pulling in opposite directions?
I'd probably say it was probably where I thought gas was going to take off and it didn't. And it forced us to like, go, okay, well, what actually do we want? Because I was like, I can't just sit around and dilly-dally. And so, but in order for me to not do that, we had to align. And so our first couple of monthly life dinners, they were interesting because I just think completely differently to Ray. And as a pair, it's great. But if you don't learn to communicate that, can be quite frustrating because I'm not really worried. Like the best description I heard of it is like, I'll picture the whole elephant, what pathway it's walking on, and the whole savannah. Whereas Ray can look at the elephant, but she'll look at the foot and then she'll know what bones are in the foot and which muscles work at certain times. And so when we were talking, we didn't realize that we were talking from those different perspectives. So if we were goal setting, I was like, everything in absolute abundance, all this kind of stuff. And Ray's like, well, what does that even mean? And I'm like, well, it doesn't have to mean anything. Just let's work towards that. And it got quite frustrating.
Or like even just taking it down to a simple example of what do the hours we work each week look like? You were more just like focused on the bigger vision of what we were creating. And I'm like, no, let's agree specific hours that we work within and all of that. But it's like, it was just really getting that all meshed out. And I think if you don't make that consistent space and time regularly in your life, you just don't have those, like necessarily make time for those conversations.
Yeah.
And you might say, oh, we could sit down once off and we'll have a meeting. We'll plan, well, not a meeting. We'll just have a conversation. We'll plan out how things should go. But at some point, that conversation might get heated when you disagree. And so you might not have time or energy to get through everything that needs to be covered. And B, we human. Life moves on and you forget. So you need those regular reminders and those regular check-ins.
Yeah. So just to make sure that we're not going over time, what's the most important reason for the regular monthly life dinners or couple meetings?
It's just communication and alignment, really. So like the big one is getting on the same page. So if you feel like you and your partner are just like if you're married, you hopefully happily, maybe not happily, but you are living a life together. And so you probably think, oh, not much has to change. But do you sometimes get frustrated where you actually don't agree, or you're not?
Yeah, I think on that, like you don't have to go through life where marriage is hard in terms of you just don't see eye to eye, you just don't.
And making compromises.
Also like making silly jokes about it, like not silly jokes, like talking down on each other. Like that's not marriage. And I think that's been put as a image. I'll go to the pub with the guys just to escape the wife kind of thing. And it's like those things are a natural joke, but they start to take over. And I think it's important for me, what you said there, comms, but alignment is, even in business, everyone's not aligned. And the world isn't aligned at the moment. I think that's what's really important is even in your own household, if you aren't aligned, how on earth do you think everything else is going to work out there? Like the world's got its own challenges. Don't make something in your house a challenge too. So
your home should be where you bring your best self.
Home should be your castle.
And your castle, yeah.
That should be where you are aligned. And if you're not aligned, it's going to be
start there.
6 to 10 months of trying to get aligned. But you'll find a... Hi, team. So I'm quickly going to interrupt this episode because I think it's quite a crucial point. We have our challenge coming up on the 2nd of January, 2025. If you listen to this episode and you've missed that date and you've come back, go to www.identityhuman.com and see what our latest is. But if you listen to this in time, then please come and sign up for our challenge. We got 4 kids, multiple businesses. We've made sure we set this up for someone that is super busy. And while we're at it, just because of where we're at in this episode, invite your partner along and do it together. It would be amazing too. Okay. It would be really cool to get you guys aligned at the beginning, and we will help you along that journey. So just want to interrupt quickly and be excited to see you join us on the journey. Cheers.
Way. And I think it's really important to be on the same page.
So it sounds like a big idea, but actually it can be fixed with a really simple system. And I think you could make it, there's more layers we could add and we can make it more complex, but really at its core, it comes down to carving out 10 to 30 minutes each week for what we call our weekly meeting. And then about an hour, well, I would say about half an hour on the serious business, and then about an hour on doing something fun together. So like block out like an hour and a half once a month to have that, what we call our monthly laugh dinner, like your strategy session, sort of, if that's the way you want to describe it. Okay.
It's exactly the same.
And so the weekly meeting, we have 4 young kids, so there's a lot of scheduling to do, and they each do like 3 to 5 sports each. Luckily, some of them overlap, but there's a lot of scheduling to do around our businesses. And Don and I both exercise at least 4 times a week. And we do home cooked meals and sitting down together as a family. So there's a lot of moving parts. So in that weekly meeting, our focus is really, what is the plan for the week ahead? What are the kids' schedules? What are our work commitments that we have outside of our agreed hours? Do we need to plan meals? Do we need to plan our exercise if we don't have a set days? And what are the immediate priorities? So it's a quick, snappy meeting. My role is normally we use Google Calendar, and we are going to do a session on time blocking, which I'm excited about, but it's all blocked out so that Don and I both have a visual of everything for the week, and then we discuss and move things around if needed. So that's the weekly meeting. Anything to add?
No, I think those are important to do, easy to not do.
Yes. So of the last year, 52 weeks, let's say, we probably missed 2 or 3 max. Yeah. And so it's just really important. Ours is on a Sunday evening, and I say, and most of the time it takes 10 minutes or less.
Yeah.
You may, at the beginning it took longer, but you get more and more efficient at it. And then the next thing is your monthly laugh dinner. Now this we schedule for the last Sunday of every month. You are going to need, and we highly recommend trying to organize childcare. And this is an investment in your life, in your relationship, in your future. So I know childcare costs money, but it is going, if you have kids, it's going to have a massive benefit, because you don't want to necessarily do this monthly laugh dinner in the evening when you're tired and you tend to get to the end of the day, like the kids are down only about 8 and you're a bit grumpy and you kind of just want to wind down. Wrong time to do a monthly laugh dinner. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Because I think these ones are the ones that are most likely to get heated if you bring completely different ideas to the table. So really look to we've had some heated ones.
They're not going to get heated all the time. They are actually. We had some lovely
80%
ones.
are not heated.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Just on those odd occasions where if you're tired, if there's a lot going on and you don't agree on a way forward or something, that just leaves ins for it.
So yeah, I'll recommend, our top tip is don't have them in the evening. Plan it in a daytime. So like I said, plan it. The idea is to connect and not just have it as like,
it's not just another form.
It's not just a goal setting strategy. It's actually connection and planning. So think of it like that. And make sure, like, it can replace, if you do a weekly date, it can replace that. Or if you're not doing a weekly date, at least have this once a month date that you schedule in. Okay. Yeah. So plan something fun before or after. And it can be something just simple, like, don't overkill the fun part if you're very busy or you don't have the funds. And then the monthly meeting really focuses on, it's a deeper dive into what you're wanting to achieve. We kind of look a year ahead at a time. Like we look for that calendar year.
And we've got goals that we each set that we want to achieve in that year.
So I love Excel. You may not, but we have different tabs, and we have.
I can do Excel in a 4-hour. I can get really into it, but ask me to get into it again the next day. It's not going to happen.
So yeah, we have different things we look at. We look at our business, because we both run businesses. What are our business goals? Briefly, just touching and aligning our business goals, our financial goals as a couple and as a family. And then our personal goals, because we want to make sure that we also know what the other person's aiming for. And we have it across like 4 categories. Do you remember the categories? It's
like
of
house,
our personal goals,
family, personal, and
the personal splits up. So it's health, house, holidays. I remember the H's. Health. We have goals and categories of health, house, and holidays, and we both had that same. We set up that structure so that our goals, we could kind of talk through our goals together.
And then you color code it.
I haven't got it color coded. So health, house, and holidays, because those are like key areas for us. And then our personal goals are around like our personal development.
Yeah.
And
so
relationships
like if you
was the
want
other one.
communications better, if you want to get
So our monthly life dinner has those personal goals, it has our business goals, our financial goals, and really anything that you is like an important driver in your life, would you say?
Yeah, I don't think there's too much to add. I think it's very personal, and start with something.
So
rather than
something,
trying to
we're
make
just
it,
giving you ideas.
rather than trying to make it perfect. Like even if you have one goal there that you review every month, that's better than nothing. Because you'll start to we built up. You start to add things. You start to go, oh no, I would like to run once a week, and then you start to add that in there. I would like to run a marathon in 2025. Just those things there. You know, like when it came to house, it was fix the pool, get the gym started fast, do the patio, just little things like that. So it's on your radar and it's there to be reminded.
And I would say where the magic really lies in those monthly meetings is, well, like Don said, just start with one thing and don't get overwhelmed by trying to do it all. But where the magic lies is recording what you document and what you discussed as your goal. Because it's so fascinating to see as the months pass or as the years pass to say, well, I told myself I wanted to run once a week. And like you sit down and it's in your face with your partner. You're like, well, I didn't run once a week, did I? And so actually I would say that monthly lifestyle, now that I think about it, is a big reason how we've built up to consistently exercising 4 times a week, because it's just, that is what our goal. And
you can't lie to
we want it to be, we want that goal to be green. We use like a traffic light
once,
system.
I think you or I once put like, yeah, I have been doing it. Then it's like, well, I haven't seen you. It's like, okay. No.
So it's having someone.
But you can lie to yourself.
You kind of become each other's coaches a bit because you got someone holding you accountable. So so my top tips would be like, if you're not Excel, find somewhere a Word document or
Xmind.
Xmind is a really cool piece of software if you haven't used it, or just a journal, a piece of paper that you guys both use. That if you don't want to use a piece of technology, and actually just document, have set structures and that you build out over time, and document what you've recorded and discussed, because it's fascinating looking back on it. And that the structures, as you build them out, will also give you an agenda. So some months, it's going to just have been a bad time when that monthly life dinner falls. It's blocked in your calendar and you're like, oh, the monthly life dinner is there. And that's where you're going to fall back on that agenda or the structure that you built out and just work through the motions to keep it going. And like another thing is to keep your meetings distraction free. So like respecting that space. Don't be
on your phone while others talking and stuff like that.
Yes. So yeah, those are our best practices. So we want to set a challenge for our listeners.
Challenge. You can do it this week.
So I think it's fairly obvious from the episode, but just, you're probably listening to this in December, but whatever month you're listening to it, sit down now with your partner, tell them that you want to give this a go, and schedule into your calendar or your diary the next 4 weeks of a weekly meeting. So if it's Sunday evening that works for you, schedule that 10-minute time in, and schedule your 1.5 to 2 hour monthly life meeting. Just schedule it in, give it a go for 30 days and see, just give it a go. You have nothing to lose. And we'd love to hear how you get on.
Yeah.
I feel like I've spoken a lot.
Well, you have, but that's fine. I like, sometimes the conversation flows like that. I think it's going to be really good practice. The hardest thing about this isn't what you do in them. It is always going to come down to the discipline of doing them.
Consistency.
Because you'll do it for a month or two and then perhaps start to find reasons why not to. You've got to make it a no excuses thing to do. You like genuinely, that's where the beauty comes in. Because I don't know if you said on this episode or just before, is like when you've got your 6 months of meetings done, the tracking back
is so fascinating.
It's so fascinating because you can either see the things that you wouldn't see, which are very good, or you can be like, wow, we just haven't dedicated any time to that. Is that a priority?
And on the ones that are good, it's so amazing how you can sit at the start of the year and be like, these are the things I want to achieve. And then at the end of the year or 6 months later, look back and be like, I actually achieved those. Like that's a big sense of self-belief. And it's amazing. Nice.
Okay. So what Ray was about to stop this short.
I wasn't thinking, I forgot about the outro.
So the outro is going to say the same as always. Remember, I'll work on me for you if you work on you for me. Ubuntu, we are who we are throughout.
I shouldn't be given control of the laptop.
No.